to 220% enemy stats, 25 to 400% on prices in shops. So we could see very cheap items or we could see very expensive items. So we'll see what happens. It looks like we're going to get started here in about 10 or 15 seconds or so.
I'd say the thing that I like the most about this league is that the flags for experience have been changed to just a pure scalar with no flat boost. So that means packs retain their general value relative to each other a little bit better than you get with a flat boost.
Yeah, and it creates a little, it makes the early game, I think, just a little longer because you don't obviously have the super bonus of that extra 100 to 500 experience per party member that gets you to level 3 or 4 in one fight. You still have to go through the early game as it's kind of a slog.
And looks like Ice 3 available in the Black Magic shop.
Cure 3 is down in that 4th slot. The Red Mage can't learn it, but the Red Wizard can, should they find the tail.
Cure 3 is nice, but definitely not worth the class upgrade for on its own. Bottle available in current area and relatively cheap, actually. Under 5 figures.
It's definitely going to be nice.
They went to all that trouble of kidnapping the fairy, and they didn't make a whole lot of money off of it. So it's always interesting to see strategies with early bridge. A lot of runners like going to Temple of Fiends, especially with a spell like Ice 3, if you can afford it, because you can check the 3 chests there and kill Garland, get that teleport back. It's something you have to do anyway. But some people love running just straight to the second town of Provoca, which is what Salty Fry is doing. Checking out more magic shops and killing pirates.
Definitely like the variants in there. That way we get to kind of see more at the same time.
Yeah, it gives you a really good idea of what chests are where. Now, I did not see what was in the first chest in Temple of Fiends. Looks like we're getting a little bit of lag here. But we'll see if it was anything important shortly, I think.
Ooh, that Red Mage is down for Len. 1069 gold in that first chest. That's going to be a nice little bump early.
Yeah, not the biggest possible gold pile you can get, but I'll take it.
Looks like Salty Fry didn't have enough money to use the inn, so had to go bump a cabin outside.
Safety saving before the pirates, always a good idea. Never know what those jerks are going to have.
Fortunately for Salty Fry, it looks like they're pretty exclusively melee this round. Like,
they did just enough damage to kill off 2 of the black belts, which is pretty much exactly what you want if you're going for a single black belt strategy here.
Yeah, and right here we have 3 of our 4 runners now already down to 1 black belt.
Salty Fry, having pre-named his 2 dead black belts, they will most likely be taking dirt naps the rest of this seed. And it looks like Garland dies pretty nicely to Ice 3.
Some very cheap cabins in this game. We're going to see a lot of overworld saving.
That's always so nice to see early in the game. Actually, a lot of stuff in the item shops has been just cheap. Crazy cheap heal potions and pure potions. Really cheap cabins. The bottle is definitely underrolled.
Both Harm 4 and Life 2 are available to the Red Mage at level 2, as well as Fire 3.
Fire 3 is a great pickup. You've got really good nukes at low rank 1 and 2 in your red magic. Very handy.
You know, I think I don't want to see Nuke or Fade until 7 or 8. I kind of want to see how players respond to the non-elemental, or to the elemental weaknesses and whatnot to play on.
Well, it looks like Salty Fry is taking his fire spell over to the Peninsula Power here.
He probably
uses ices on these giants for some delicious money too. Yep. Some not great rolls on his Ice 3 there, though. He's going to take a lot of melee hits.
He's gonna have to reset this one, though. They had 250 hit points. Hopefully, with some better rolls, they might have less hit points, but with the poor rolls, you just didn't really know. 186. There we go.
Yep, that did the trick. The key to Peninsula power leveling is not having it take too long. It's really easy to go there with only the intention of being able to make use of the Zombo fight or something like that. And if it's just too far in or the encounter's too hard, I mean, it's really easy to lose track of time and spend 5, 10 plus minutes over here trying to execute your strategy when you just need to take the fights that you get.
Well, it's interesting because with 2 characters, they're going to gain the levels faster, but with less encounters, they're not going to gain as much money. So it's going to be interesting to see how long Salty Fry actually stays.
I imagine a lot of it will be dictated by his spell pool of his Red Mage. He's got 3 charges left of spells, so he can get definitely 1, maybe 2 more encounters out of this before he'll have to take off.
Got an early Sun Sword in Matoya's Cave. That'll be good for any Red Mage who doesn't want to waste magic charges.
Yeah, that is really nice. Gives you an alternate way to contribute to like an Agama or Eye grind if you decide to go that direction before you kill off your Red Mage.
Well, Giants are very friendly. It looks like 152 was a good number for killing.
Yeah, that's definitely good news to see. Now, we do see Salty Fry taking one more fight here. With his black belt a higher level now, he can actually contribute damage to close out these fights, so he's not 100% reliant on his... ooh, terrible ice rolls there. Not 100% reliant on his Red Mage to do all the work now.
Yeah, we're going to see, depending on where the TNT is, whether this leveling ends up paying off as if he has to take a trip to the Marsh Cave.
Alright, so he's taken off. And we see Len the Cats taking on the Pirates. We know they're relatively tame. Although he's got all of his black belts are alive and well.
Yeah, it definitely looks like with the leveling and with where everybody is, you see 2 of them are on pirate fights. One of them is buying spells in the Provoca shop. Salty Fry definitely has gained an early advantage just 6 minutes into the game.
Yeah, just really tight play from him. Well, one of the things that I know I personally struggle with when I play this randomizer is I get set on a strategy, and sometimes you have to really adjust what you're going to do on the fly. And someone in chat mentioned that you don't always want to go to Peninsula Power, but considering the poverty level of the first few chests and what was available, electing to go there for a couple of levels, especially with the spells that you were given, is definitely a pretty good investment in time.
Yeah, I definitely think it worked out keeping just 2 party members alive because he gets the focus exactly where he wants it very early. It really only took him maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes or so to get set. He came out with 10,000 gold, enough to buy everything he needs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It is worth noting, though, that he did skip pretty much all the early chests because he just went straight to Provoca, but we know through our God vision that the only thing super relevant was the Sun Sword. I still can't get over the fact that we've got Fire 3, Ice 3, and Life 2 all available in the first 2 spell ranks for the Red Wizard, or excuse me, Red Mage. And I honestly don't mind it's kind of nice to find soft potions and chests early, because you never know when you're going to meet the enemy with Stone Touch or the few spells or abilities that leave you in a petrified status. So getting a few free soft potions out of chests early is kind of nice. It kind of gives you that safety in case you either can't afford them because they're too expensive or you just forget to buy softs.
Yeah, Soft is one of those things that it will always be in the Canaria item shop, but because it was moved over from Elfland, it retained its original price, and then that is randomized on the pricing scale as one of the flags. More often than not, the soft potions can be out of reach for just about anybody very early on.
Yeah, that base higher number just the randomizer can do more things with it, unfortunately. We do see Ali Jibrap heading over to Peninsula Power 2. We'll see if he has similar luck. Looks like his Ice 3 attack only managed to kill one of them on the initial hit. Might give him some time to kill off some of his one of his black belts though, so he might be okay with it.
You never know. He might end up going with 2 black belts. I mean,
certainly possible. So silver bracelet and a falchion in the dwarf chests. Looks like Len deems the silver bracelet worthy enough to walk out with, so he's taken the time to menu reorganize his party and equip said items.
Yeah, silver bracelet's definitely good to find. You could debate whether or not it's worth buying in regards to the red mage. If you find cheap chain early on, if silver bracelets could be cost prohibitive, but finding one's certainly a blessing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to it. I don't know if it's worth taking the time to walk out of the dwarf cave, depending on where you left your first reset out. Because if I had saved by Corneria and that's what I found, I probably would have reset out. And we see Quicklet doing that exact thing right now.
Yep, some players are going to value it, some players are not. We're going to see what this Marsh Cave has to offer.
Nothing says good times like a Marsh Cave seed.
Well, I think if I had to predict, I'd say Salty Fry would probably skip out on the bracelet. Again, every runner is going to have to come back to the Dwarf Cave at some point, so they will pick up the silver bracelet. The question they ask is it worth it for the Marsh Cave?
Yep, is it worth it right now? That's not to say one answer is better or worse. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the items you've seen. It depends on whether or not you've gotten levels. You know, maybe your black belt at level 11 or 8 has enough hit points where you're comfortable having him in the front of the party for Marsh.
And realistically, with the black belt gaining 1 absorb for every level, by the time you get to 8 or 11, you're not too far off from that silver bracelet anyway.
Ooh, Cure 4 available in level 4 shop, but I thought I saw one of the heal spells in level 3. Wow, lit 3 in rank 4 black magic. So that's all 3 of the level 3 black magic spells available in the first 4 levels. Pretty handy.
And less than 1,000 gold houses, 766 for houses. That's a pretty good deal too.
Man, the item shops in this seed are super cheap. No pharmacists making any money in this seed. Everything's going, it's Walmart prices. All right, so we see Salty Fry dipping back into Carnaria, double checking those shops. Thinking really hard about a Pearl Ring.
His entire money on his entire wallet, and he opts not.
He could pick up the bottle now just to have it, but that seems like a bold choice to spend that money before you go to Elfland.
Definitely, and especially as we've seen some of the spells, he's going to want to keep that.
Yeah, some pretty good spells available. I missed Black Magic Shop level 3, so we'll have to take a look at that another runner, but
you did have heal 2 at 3.
Yep, yeah, that was about the only good thing I saw in the White Magic Shop. Alright, it looks like Salty Fry is going to deem the silver bracelet worth walking out as well.
I think he saved before walking in or somewhere closer to the cave. Walking out wasn't going to do him good.
We haven't talked about it much yet, and it's a little harder to notice when you're watching 4 streams, but the encounter table does have a pretty nice gap. I think it's the second encounter after the power cycle. I'll have to pay attention to it a little bit better on the next reset.
Yeah, so that'll allow you to walk from like the docks to the dwarf cave and back without getting any encounters.
So that makes the opportunity cost of checking that dwarf cave and walking out the items a lot smaller, since you can control the run.
Oh, we got the crown in Upper Marsh Cave.
That's almost disappointing because nearly every runner checks the top of Marsh Cave before the bottom, so everybody's gonna find the crown. So that means TNT most likely behind the crown lock chest, but it could be in the bottom of Marsh and just troll everybody.
Yep, there are 4 chests in the top, 6 chests in the bottom, 3 more that are crown locked, which would be very interesting to see if Quicklit or anybody that finds the crown first walks it out and gets the Mystic Key before diving back down to the bottom of Marsh for those extra 3 chests.
Here's a question for you, Svartano. If you find crown in the top 3 chests and no TNT, and the encounter table is okay, do you check the bottom 3 chests at Marshall while you're there, or do you finish the crown chests and then come back there last with the key?
Gosh, that's a tough call. If you've got a pretty good encounter too, I'd be half tempted to walk it out because it's only 6 chests that are down there versus 27 that the crown opens available to you. Statistically, the TNT would be crown locked in some fashion. The last thing you want to do is double dip the bottom of that marsh cave.
Yeah, exactly. I would tend to agree with you on that one. With the encounter table being the way it is, the walks to, turning in the crown chain on foot kind of sucks without a canoe and without an airship. But when the encounter table is a little more manipulatable and you can walk around a little bit better, and especially with how cheap cabins are in this seed, it feels quite reasonable to take that crown and just immediately get the H out of there.
Yeah, and typically you're going to have the means to deal with Astos with Ice 3 at 1. You should have the means to deal with Astos unless he's got something particularly nasty.
Yeah, if you've got spells of that caliber, he certainly won't be a pain in the Astos. Remember to tip your servant.
Don't worry, folks. He'll be here all night.
I don't know why anyone would. I mean, Astos is so hard to find. I don't know where he could possibly. Oh my God, he was the king of the Northwest Castle the entire time. Did not see that coming.
Like sands of the hourglass. These are the days of our lives.
And Astos, he takes an entire Ice 3 to the face, though. I didn't quite see the damage numbers, but it did not look.
It was in the 1-teens, I believe. And those poor black belts are just chipping away with their fists.
Ooh, Zelnop with a slightly better pun in chat. Good work, sir. You know, I think if I were piloting that fight, the black belts contribute so little damage with their fists against Astos. I would just have them running to reduce the animation time, probably a little faster.
I think you're probably right. Realistically, if that fight were 4 rounds long, they contributed maybe 20 hit points worth of damage.
I still remember the days of the 4 white mage Astos locked TNT, having to fish for crits with your white mages and their hammers. Those were good times.
Those were the best times.
But I'm waxing nostalgic. All right, so we see Quicklit in the upper left taking advantage of that encounter table we were talking about. You power cycle, you throw away that first encounter, and you get yourself a pretty nice long run. He's run all the way from the Northwest Castle to Elfland without a single fight. So that's pretty much what we were talking about, where we were saying that running out the crown chain here for looking for that TNT is probably a better choice than mucking around in Ambush Cave.
You got both Bane and Brack at level 3.
Brack surprisingly useful to take out both Kraken and Tiamat and a few other enemies depending on your spell list. Now with the black magic we have available currently, there's just so many nuke spells that it pales a little bit in comparison, but can still be useful.
Well, I think that's going to depend because it's not nuke, they're elemental and they're resistances, so there's a possibility that those could come in handy. I mean, you figure Fire 3 may not top out on some of these bosses.
That is true, but also typically by the time you're fighting Kraken or Tiamat, if you were going to grind, you've probably already completed it at that point.
Fair enough.
Now we saw Salty Fry doing very well early game, but the time he took for his leveling strategy has put him a little bit behind on the crown chain compared to some of his competitors here. So we'll see if he makes up that time in just leveling efficiency and ease of access later.
Yeah, and that's going to depend because where he does make up for it is he does have 11 or 12 red mage and black belt at this point. He is still probably a little farther along in regards to leveling, but that could be wiped out with a couple of peak kills or something like that.
Definitely true. All right, so we see Quicklit is in the lead for the crown chest turn-in chain here. So he gets the dankest of herbs from Matoya. She's into New Age hippie crystals. Wouldn't surprise me that she's got herb tucked away somewhere.
Yeah, I think they called those head shops.
Sounds about right.
Do they even have those anymore?
Kids these days with their caves filled with magic talking brooms and skulls everywhere.
Get off my lawn, Astos.
All right, so I'm really curious to see what kind of progression we get, or rather, what kind of items outside of the TNT we get out of the rest of this crown chain. Because when you find early crown like this, that is about the latest you'll find the TNT. Because keep in mind, even if you find the floater, you still need the TNT to be able to access the area that the airship is in.
Definitely, and like I said earlier, it opens up 27, technically 28, but one of those is way out there. It opens up 27 chests to open as well, so it increases the likelihood that you could find something like floater before you even get out of the lake, if you will.
So interesting. We are seeing Quicklit taking advantage of that really long gap in the encounter table to just sneak over and check the 3 chests in the Northwest Castle before heading on to the larger payloads in Dwarf Cave. Oh, and he's rewarded with both a ribbon and the TNT in Astos' castle. Wow.
Well, I was just going to ask, had you not found the TNT, would you have gone to Marsh next, or would you have gone back to check the freebie chests?
Oh, I would definitely have gone back to check the freebie chests. With as far as chests per minute goes, your especially with this encounter table, your ability to clear those other areas is a lot faster. This is actually really good news for Quicklit because of the way he chose to route this. That means he's going to be able to walk out of here, head up to Corneria, probably grab the 6 up there just to look in case the slab or floater's in there, and then he'll be able to clear Dwarf Cave and turn in the TNT, and he'll be able to do that all in one really clean run without any backtracking. So that was a really clever play on his part to, make a really small time sacrifice for a potentially big payoff.
Yeah, definitely, because the last thing you want is to take 5 trips to the Dwarf Cave to turn in all the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't paying attention when Elf Castle chests were open before, so it looks like it was just a little bit of pocket change and somebody fit an entire house in treasure chest. So nothing too exciting there.
It's probably a bounce house.
Yeah, it's all, it's folded and deflated in a little package.
Yeah, so we see Salty Fry did not opt to go to Northwest Castle first, it seems, so he's going to check all of the Canaria stuff first, but he's going to have to double back.
Yeah, unfortunately for him. Now, I mean, this is, strictly the math play. This is the most chests per minute, but it was just really smart thinking on Quicklet's part to take advantage of the encounter table as he knew it, to kind of take a free check over while it was convenient. And it definitely paid off for him. Heck, even if there hadn't been the TNT there and it had just been a ribbon, it still would have been worth.
Oh, absolutely.
In addition to the, elemental resistance bonuses, you get to look like a pretty princess.
When we've already passed that particular stage, I don't want to think about that anymore.
Oh, I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to the was it a couple of rounds from now where the league race is collect all 4 castable items in either the weapon or armor slot. That'll be a real interesting race.
Yeah,
it'll be an item find that's a little bit more diverse than the opal bracelet hunt that we saw earlier in the league.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one because you're going to have to find 4 out of a possible 6 weapons and 4 out of a possible 8 pieces of armor. I may have gotten those backwards, but either way, it is 8 out of a possible 14 different items.
All right, so we're gonna take a peek here and see what's in our dwarf cave. And Temple of Fiends not looking too exciting. You see Salty Fry taking advantage of that that encounter table by power cycling and then burning an encounter and running in, so he just runs straight to the trap tile.
Yeah, so one of the options that is randomized in Final Fantasy Randomizer is what we call the RNG table. So in the original game, if there was a fixed number of steps, whether they are overworld tiles or ocean tiles or different dungeon tiles, there's a fixed number that you sort of count either up to, down from. I'm not 100% sure how it works. But once you reach that point, you trigger an encounter. If you reset from there, it picks you up at the next encounter. If you power cycle, it kicks you back to the top of the table. Because that's randomized here, the second encounter in the table is a fairly lengthy run.
And the power cycle encounter table manipulation can definitely be a double-edged sword. Because you're reciting to a known location every time, if you happen to power cycle before entering a dungeon, then it ends up placing you in a really terrible encounter part where the first 3 enemies in the dungeon are, all the ones that rolled nuke or something, you could be in trouble. So it's definitely not a every use, every time kind of thing, but it is a powerful tool to have in your pocket as a speed runner of this randomizer.
Well, yeah, there's definitely I think there's 2 questions really you got to look at when you start kind of calculating what's on the table is where are your 7s and 8s? Do you get any 7s and 8s on the encounter table? And can you predict where you're going to end up on, say, the water floor for Temple of Fiends Revisited?
Yep. And of course, we're referring to numbers. There are 8 groups of encounters on the encounter table, and groups 7 and 8 are obviously the rarer ones. They're more common ones. They're at the front and the 1 and 2 slot and so forth. But because the encounter table is randomized, your 7 and 8 level encounters could be like right at the front after a power cycle. So knowing where those are for both manipulation of encounters for experience and just not dying is again a valuable tool.
Yeah, and if you found, say, encounter 7, say 12 to 15 encounters into the game, which is some advanced math, but if you know that you've got
My head hurts.
12 or 15 encounters in, that's a fair warning you might get a war mech. So war mechs are not exactly as random as we hope, but the blessed RNGs are always still appreciated.
I was too busy babbling on about encounter rate tables. I did not quite catch what was in the Melmond magic shops, unfortunately. But Salty Fry did come back and pick up his TNT. He's probably a little annoyed about that.
Yeah, Len looks like he opted for Northwest Castle first. Now that it looks like everyone has skipped it, let us go ahead and hope that the floater is down there in Marsh.
All right, so we see Len hitting up that Canary Castle chest hoard. The only thing really of note there is probably the light axe and the katana. Light axe for its usable harm 2 spell, and the katana because it probably sells for a good pile of cash. Meanwhile, Quick Lit picking up his canoe from the Circle of Sages.
Yeah, and Salty Fry's definitely got to be kicking himself at this point. He may not know, I should say, he should not know where Quicklit is, but he's got to feel like not going to Northwest Castle may have cost him some time.
Well, he's also picked up a little time from just being very efficient in the levels and money he got at the front of the Seed in the Peninsula of Power kind of mini grind there. So he's going to be approaching Crescent Lake a little higher level with his 2 party members than perhaps Quicklit did, but since Quicklit is already there and fishing for experience in gold fights right now, he'll have some time more than enough time to make up that difference, I think.
Yeah,
The real
especially if you have
difference.
to get a friendly Pede fight.
Oh yeah, I mean the real difference here too is that Quicklet appears to be going with a three-member strategy. You know, 2 black belts, 1 red mage, whereas Salty Fry is putting all of his fists in one black belt basket, so to speak.
And
All right, here's our second chance. Look at the spell list, and the white list is garbage. Ooh, warp.
Warp is should be available to that red mage.
Yep, is available. He just accidentally selected his his black belt. If black belts could learn warp, they'd be even more OP than they are currently.
Yeah, one of the good things about the way this seed has lined up is in many of the magic shops, the red mage can't use certain slots, and in the black magic 5, red mage has the top and bottom slots available, which were both warp and temper, which is really nice. I'm actually thinking in this game there's not going to be a whole lot of need for the tail, because you've got life 2, you're not locked out of anything major. We'll have to turn over and see what 6, 7, and 8 are, but a lot of the magic is at the very least satisfactory for red mage.
Oh yeah, and when you've got a red mage, I honestly I don't care about level 7 and 8 spells, because even if you can get at them with a class change, you have so few charges because you're a red mage that, I mean, even if it was a nuke, I just wouldn't care. I probably wouldn't spend the time to go turn it in and just get like 1 charge of that maybe if I got him to level 25 or whatever.
Well, I think someone said it the other day, because I'm pretty sure red mage gets their first charge of 8 at like 31. So while that is often, at least I trying to have attained it a bit in this round, also haven't got my win, so maybe that's a sign. But even if you did get to 31, 32, you would have a charge of it. What is a charge of nuke going to do you?
Not a whole lot. Exactly. Yeah, I think red. I don't even think red. Well, red mages can't learn any level 7s or level 8 spells. But I think their highest goes up to, I think they get charges at like level 5 is 15, level 6 is 20, and I want to say they get a charge of 7 at like 25 or 26 if memory serves. But even then, they only get 1 or 2. It's so much time invested for so little payout. I think the real reason to class change would be access to some of the white magic in the early game that would be beneficial, like life 2. But as you mentioned, we've already got that in the can, so maybe a little bit of equipment you could put on our red wizard, but black belts punch through just about anything either way. 26. All right, thanks, chat. I'm impressed that I remember that off the top of my head because I almost never get a red mage that high.
So we have found a ton of knight gear, actually, with that Aegis Shield pickup. We have both the Dragon Armor and the Aegis Shield, and an Opal Shield. If we only
it'd be really great for that fighter we don't have.
Well, that's going to be next week.
Fighters are so good in this game. Like, when you don't play with absurdly high scaling, fighters just really shine. I mean, and they're really good in the vanilla game, too.
Yeah, I definitely am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the fighter round. I think the fighter round encourages, I don't say more conservative play, but you feel not as punished for certain things.
Oh yeah, well I just the max scaling LOL experience, black belt strategies are just kind of, personally to me, ceased to become interesting after long periods of time. So seeing the part of the fun of this league has just been doing wacky stuff with lower scalings, and even with this race with its 4x boost is with no flat is still lower than some of what a lot of people like to run. So it's really fun to kind of see the alternate strategies. We've already got a 3-party member versus 2-party member strategy going on with our runners here. So it's always fun to see the different ways people can approach this game, and how prepared they could be for success depending what the randomizer throws at them.
Yeah, and I tell you, the 3-man strat, I think with life 2 at 2, I almost think the 3-man strat's going to cost you more time than it's worth. Life 2 is going to allow you to pick up those black belts when you need them for boss fights to eat damage. I don't know that you're really going to need a second black belt for long-term usage. And I know Trenton's going to disagree with me, and that's fine. That is your opinion. But yeah, with the ability to pick your black belts up whenever you want, I really feel like you only need one.
Yeah, it just depends on how safe you want to be, for sure. You know, if you're trying to get that win and you're operating on tight margins, you know, for against really good players, you know, maybe you risk it all and try to put it in just one, you know, one player. You know, Life 2 is so good at just bringing up, you know, meat sponges to put at the front of the party for Temple of Fiends bosses to just completely meat paste while your real party in the back, you know, completes the fight. So it looks like we've got both Quicklit and Salty Fry clearing out that top floor of the volcano. Only thing real exciting we've seen so far is ribbon number 2 that was on that floor. I believe it was in the what we like to call the armory, in that huge clutch of chests in the left side of that room.
Yeah, 2's enough. I mean,
oh yeah, well when you're running 2 party members, who cares if your you know, if your party first 2 meat sponges get hit with zap or something.
yeah. Show pointing out in chat, Life 2 is the best cure spell. That is absolutely correct. Cures for 1 more point than Cure 4 does.
Can't cast it in battle though. Literally its only downside. But you know, I'd still rather have Life 2 than Cure 4. So
yeah, I'd rather have it until you get to Chaos.
that's just not fair though. I'd rather have any spell other than Life 2 once I got to Chaos, because you can't use it once you're at Chaos. Well, okay, that's true. Triton is correcting me in chat. You can cast it in battle, it just does nothing. And technically correct is the best kind of correct. You know, we really haven't seen any particularly scary you know, spells or abilities out of most of these monsters. It's been pretty straightforward so far.
Yeah, that only means the back end of this game has to be wacky, I hope. I don't know about you, I'm ready for like Bane Red Sahags, Ghosts with Toxic, Bad Men with Bad Touch. That last one didn't come out correctly.
No, I was just giving you enough rope to hang yourself. Don't worry, buddy. All right, so we've got Lem the Cat making his way to Crescent Lake. He's gonna pick up his canoe. Now he is arriving here later than some of his fellow runners, but he is arriving a little bit higher level than they did when they got here. He's just a little bit far behind, even with that difference. But depending on what you get in Volcano and how well you execute a grind, if you choose to do one here, it's still anyone's race.
Yeah, and you never know what could happen. Somebody starts a grind and then dies at carry or worse.
I swear, man, carry 1 is like after maybe like Kraken 2, Tiamat, and Chaos, carry 1 is the biggest killer of runs in my opinion. Now, a lot of that has to do with people playing too close to the margins, and I myself feel guilty of it, of banking everything on carry 1 letting you kill her after a bad grind or something like that. But man, she can roll crazy stats.
Yeah, where we give Lich absolutely no respect, Lich 1 or Lich 2, carry is definitely one we don't give respect to that really does deserve it.
Oh yeah, even carry 2. I mean, she's got 6 hits, pretty decent health pool. She's got all the, you know, elemental immunities.
Yeah.
In fact, the only reason carry 1 isn't more scary is because she's got that status weakness.
Now, for those of you who are watching right on this channel, Randomania 3 a couple nights ago, carry 2 really took me to task.
Worth pointing out that Allie decided to take a dip over to Earth Cave. Checking those chests, Artea would be proud.
You know, when you can take advantage of that encounter too. I mean, if it gets you far.
Yeah.
Oh, there's our floater though, northwest corner of B4 Volcano.
It's a really good pickup for Quicklit. But that does mean that unless the slab is free in the rest of Volcano here, we've got ourselves a slab hunt across about 3 different dungeons.
which means I gotta hope that it's in the bottom of marsh.
I guess that's 4. That's 3.5.
And there's just as many chests in the bottom of marsh as there are castle ordeals at this point.
That is math, sir. I can't argue with that. I will say that you know, everyone knows where I hope the slab is, and that is in Castle Ordeal. You know, with a really long encounter table that's manipulatable and access to warp spell, Ordeals is not a terrible place to check. All seriousness.
Warp was 5, so first charge of 5 for Red Mage is, what did we say, 15 or 16?
5 for a Red Mage is 15, but you get second charge right at 16. And they will more than likely be 1 or 2 charges out. Yeah, Zoot's Gauntlets in Volcano. You're never unhappy to see that.
The Bainsword was there as well in that first room here. If you
it is important to note, we haven't talked about any potential grind much, but having access to 2 ribbons means that completing a grind here and fighting Carrie blind is a little bit safer in case she's got some crazy spell or whatever. You're a lot more protected at it. So let's see what these Agamas have got up their sleeves. Wait, is that the Masamune? Did I miss that?
That's what I was wondering. It's either Masamune or Iron Nunchuck, one of the two.
It was hard to tell. I guess we'll find out shortly. He did way too much damage for that to be the Iron Nunchuck. Alright, well, we are terrible commentators because we missed Massa. It must have been somewhere in Volcano here. Alright, well, the only thing that they're missing for maximum grind safety is, like, the Opal Bracelet for the Black Belt. And even that will become irrelevant once the Black Belt gets sufficiently high level.
You're being told in chat that the Masamune was in one of the early fire-locked chests.
Alright, so if you're quick lit, you've got a couple options here. You can think about, you know, since you've got a ribbon and relative safety, I think he's got a pretty good number of heal potions. He can, you know, grind his black belt up. It'll be a pretty straightforward grind for him. Probably take his black belt to at least 32. If he wants to go super crazy, he could get it all the way up to the upper 30s, or perhaps even all the way to 42 for that last hit threshold.
Yeah, starting to grind at the 41-minute mark is fairly solid.
Well, especially considering that TNT was crown locked.
Yeah, definitely. The Agama looks pretty friendly. He doesn't hit too terribly hard. Probably not ready to leash the black belt on his own.
It's never terrible to have a few extra levels on your only source of resurrection magic. Especially when you have 2 ribbons and you know you're going to be able to keep him relatively well protected in Temple of Fiends. You know, you could just kind of let him pick up levels, and when he dies here. And, you know, if he picks up an extra 3 or 4 levels and gets the corresponding hit points for that, so much the better. You know, that'll make him more likely to survive a random nuke or some enemy with 3 groups of them all having poison or something.
Now, here's what I did last time, and I feel like I made different mistakes where, like, what I did was fine. I took the Red Mage and Black Belt to 25 and then went on and beat Carrie and just took a bunch of fights and eventually got to 32. But one of the things that this entourage is lacking is the fast spell. That was definitely what factored into my decision that I would just go and get more levels, because having fast early definitely helps you still beat bosses even though you're not 32.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But it looks like Quicklit made the decision to let his Red Mage die there. So it's going to be 100% solo Agama here for Quicklit.
Yep. The question is going to be, does he stop at 32? Does he go to 42? Does he split the difference? See, I think splitting the difference is not a bad play. You can take more fights, get your Red Mage up in levels to where he can survive a nuke and still get those levels on your Black Belt.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty fair strat, to be honest with you. The risk is, though, if you go too low, like if you stop at like 38, then you're pressured to pick up more fights later when you've got your red mage also alive. It can make you take inefficient fights in a few places. I mean, the whole point of grinding in Agama here is that the time cost for getting this experience is so low. You know, going all the way to 39 or 40 before you stop is certainly not a terrible idea.
While true, let's not forget that usually when we stop at 38 or 39, it's because we have a 3 or a 4-man party. He's going to just pick up the red mage and continue with 2. So 30, I think 36 might be a good stopping point, because I think you're going to get them with the forced fights in Sea Shrine, as well as some of the big experience-rich fights in Sky Castle.
Yep, that is very true. So we see our other two featured runners here, Len the Cat and Alijabrap. Len is still working his way through Volcano. Unfortunately, unless Ali had found a slab down here, it just was not going to be worth the dive. It's a bold play if you you know you're against tough opposition to take a play like this, but
sometimes you got to feel like you got to take a gamble, and I think that may be what
Yeah.
he did, what he felt like he was doing here. Because certainly Artea and Will Bloodworth will tell you this is not a gamble; it's a legitimate strategy.
Well, and for all we know, the slab could be in this last chest after the vampire, and it looks like it wasn't. Wow, is he gonna walk it out?
He must have found something if he's walking it out.
Well, we already know the Massa and a ribbon are in Volcano. The other ribbon is in early in the crown areas. So unless there was a third ribbon there, I can't think of what would make me really want to walk out this terrible walk out of Earth.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think it's got to have something that affects you right now. Otherwise, remember where it is, dump your save, you know, exit out and run to the next dungeon. And if it were a truly important item like defense sword, white shirt, something like that, just remember where you found it and swing back by and pick it up when you kill Lich.
All right, it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy randomizer seed with high experience scaling and a black belt if we didn't have two people fighting Agamas at the same time. It didn't last very long, but it felt good to see it.
Interesting to see what Salty Fry does, because he's left his black belt up in the top slot. Is he going to grind them both evenly? Is he going to kill that red mage off at some point?
He might be doing a variation of the strat you mentioned, where you keep both of them alive at mid levels and just take fights where you can get them. A little bit riskier, since I don't believe the red mage has access to fast in this seed.
Yeah, that's really the risk. It looks like he's going on to carry.
All right, well, we'll get a peek at end boss carry. A little less scary since you know, there's some dead corpses that he can resurrect and throw into the meat shield in front of carry here. But I mean, you know, his black belt and red mage are already in, I think, the mid-low 20s, so it's not like they're not capable of closing out this game.
And he is wielding mass immune, so I mean, at least he's getting top level damage, hopefully.
Oh yeah, this is not a risky fight to kill carry. It just means that he's kind of abandoning leveling off of Agamas here.
Which is,
so
I think it's
this...
fine.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it's fine if you felt like the Agamas were either not killable or otherwise. You got your floater, so there are a couple of other places you could check for grinds.
That's very true. And I think the story of this seed, based on what we're seeing here, is Quicklet and Salty Fry are definitely the two that are in the lead of this group, but it could very well come down to you know, the worldwide slab hunt. You know, where the runners choose to go immediately after this seed could very well dictate the winner of this race, and that does not put Len the Cat or even Alijabrap completely out of it.
Yeah, just to fill you in on what Zardia is doing outside of our little race here, is he went ahead and actually noped out with his floater and is now checking the free chests. So he did not kill carry and just escaped with the floater.
That's a strat I really like when you find floater on like the first floor of Volcano, because you can just leave, because you would want to leave and save anyway, and then just come back after you checked all the free chests. It just makes it a little bit safer.
Yeah, missed what Ali G was grinding at, but Czar actually went to Earth Cave, so I can update you on what is down there. So far, just a light axe.
Len picking up his very important floater in the volcano there. It's always good to see that. Meanwhile, we see Salty Fry checking the armor shop. The only thing we were really missing of relevance, I think, was the gold bracelet. Alright, sounds good, Edge. Meanwhile, we've got Quicklet just turning every agament he sees into a fine paste.
He's recreating that scene from Men in Black where Will Smith steps on the cockroaches.
I just thought he was like trying to make a Jackson Pollock painting, except with paint, it's just the blood of agamets. All right, so we got, based on the number of hits I'm seeing on Quicklet's black belt, he's definitely over 32. It'll be interesting to see again how far he goes. Maybe he'll take your advice and get in the split the difference and do halfway between 32 and 42 and plan on picking up those last few levels on the way.
Yeah, because I think one thing you don't want to do is I don't think you want to get to like 45, 46, what have you. It sounds interesting because you're like, oh yeah, the closer I get to 50, the more damage you do. But you're really looking at just the amount of time used to get to that point when the gains are really negligible. It's really that 10th hit you want at 42. Everything beyond that is kind of superfluous.
Pretty much. Yeah, there's a reason why you'd never really intentionally go higher than 42 in a regular seed, unless something crazy is going on. Because the last big benefit you get is the difference from 41 to 42, because you get those extra hits. Any extra time after that is, as you mentioned, pretty superfluous, not super necessary. Len, meanwhile, having some trouble. That is just a bunch of bull, unfortunately, and he takes an unfortunate death in the volcano. Doesn't look like he's doing much in counter manipulation either. And it looks like we've got Zardia down here in the bottom right corner of our screen, checking out the Earth Cave. Now, we already know, unfortunately, that Earth Cave did not yield much fruit. Alright, let's see what's behind the Titan and his horde here. Flame sword, bunch of money, and a smaller bunch of money. Alright, so this is a pretty big turning point in the race here. Salty Fry is heading toward the Earth Cave. I think I understand why he's doing this. He might be trying to mitigate the potential of Slab being here early and him getting blown out. But it does mean that he's taking the time to clear out Earth Cave when we know it doesn't have anything of value in it.
Yeah, even if I didn't know what it had, I don't know that I like the play because in the similar vein of the number of chests that you could check, Sea Shrine's going to be more rewarding because of the experience you'll gain from some of the fights that you have to take.
That is definitely true, although he has already walked past a bunch of chests, so maybe his idea is, I'm going to run here and check only the rod or floater locked chests first, and then, maybe he'll try to continue to push his advantage in routing that way.
It's true, because we haven't seen before the Earth Cave yet.
That Wolfpack not responding very kindly to the Final Fantasy Randomizer special on Salty Fry's screen. A AoE spell killing all but 1 or 2 enemies, and then your other person's successfully running, thus allowing for maximum time wasted.
I feel like that's hard coded into the game. Like if subjects killed is 1 or greater, immediately your run percent is 100.
Have things gone well for this fight? If so, no rewards, instant run, maximum time spent,
and loss of a spell slot.
Yes, that also. Although if you were willing to spend it there, you probably knew it was gone anyway.
Yep. And that's gonna be the one downside of taking some of these fights is just, unfortunately, they're kind of slogs of fights, and you don't get as much experience for them.
Did we just see the slab in the Cardia Islands?
You mean the Zardia Islands?
Wow, so Salty Fry must have picked it up while we were we're just terrible at this, Spartzano. We're too busy blathering on about Agama blood, and then our runners are picking up important items.
So then now, yeah, this becomes just a pass through to kill Lich while you're here. Translate your slab, knock out Lich, and move on.
Yeah, that is correct. So that was why Salty Fry went to Earth Cave when he was here, because he as our tracker already pointed out in chat here, he already picked up his slab. So he's just doing a really efficient clear of the overworld. Since he's already by the Earth Cave on his pathing, he's just going to do it right now and get it done with. It's also why he's skipping all the chests. And boy, when you have 2 ribbons and everything you need to beat the game, it's pretty hard to argue with spending time looking for anything else.
Yeah, there's only 2 issues that I'm going to see that it looks like Quicklit will have taken care of. Quicklit's got that black belt leveled. I don't think Salty Fry does. And with Temper being at 5, there's going to be less charges of that to go around. And we haven't seen Fast yet, so Melee might be a little difficult going forward.
And because we've got Quicklit not going to the... I don't think he's been to the Cardia Islands yet, although my ability to pay attention to who's gone where my confidence has been shocked. But I don't think Quicklit's been to Cardia Islands, so he's going to be spending a lot of time looking around for something that was very easy to pick up. He could take his black belt and just cruise through the end of the game if he finds it.
I don't know. You gotta think he's got to check that at some point. Why he hasn't checked it yet, I'm not honestly sure.
Yeah, I don't know either. I hope he doesn't. Yeah, I could see going to the waterfall cave just to pick up. You're gonna check these chests and you need to pick up the cube while you're here anyway. But I think it would be crazy to do Sea Shrine before checking the Cardia Islands chest. There's just so many of them, and they're so easy to check.
One of the funny things that definitely glad we didn't get to go too deep in Marsh is those werewolves had frost, and if they had to go early down deep in Marsh, that could have been troublesome.
Yeah, I think that's the first real significant enemy spell that, at least that I have noticed in this race, as far as party wiping potential.
We've got Talen the cat now grinding Agamas into paste.
Looks like he's setting up for his solo black belt. Should be pretty straightforward. He's got quite a few heal potions, and the Agamas don't hit too crazy hard. Question in chat. Yes, Zar did walk out the floater. He did get it and immediately leave. We did see that while he was still off stream there. Meanwhile, we've got Salty Fry just taking out Lich, so he's going to be up a crystal over Quicklit. It's really going to come down to, I think, really 2 factors. One is that Salty Fry's levels are not concentrated on his black belt like Quicklit's are. He has completed a grind. So Salty Fry would be on pace to, maybe hit that 32 threshold with some experience in, maybe Sky Castle or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that the life 2 is going to help him in terms of the absorb. If he can't get his guys over the 32 mark, get him to 32. Having that life 2 would allow them to take some hits is going to help where a 42 might have just been able to take a hit. Yeah,
that is certainly true. But I mean, all it takes is a Kraken 2 with no spell list, and if you can't kill him in 3 to 4 turns, he might just melee your lower level guy dead nonstop. Granted, that's a pretty big if.
Salty Fry's checking Zardia Islands, and we know he has the slab and had it translated.
Yeah, I wonder what he was looking for. We might have to ask him about that at the end of the race. Because he's already got, maybe because he knows he doesn't have levels, maybe he was digging for like defense sword or power bracelet. That would probably be my guess.
I mean, maybe, but if slab were there, wouldn't he have just gotten the rest of the items when he got slab?
I think he must have started on the left side and then just immediately ditched out once he found the slab and just was cruising.
I don't know.
Me either. I don't know what's real and what isn't anymore, man. I'm in the fetal position in my headset, just rocking on the floor right now.
Get together, man. Quickly, it's now punching sharks.
Yeah, unfortunately, he decided to go into Sea Shrine instead of checking Cardia Islands. I would just have to assume that he forgot to check them, and God knows I've done that in a race. But that's gonna be he will full clear Sea Shrine, much to his sadness once he finds the slab eventually.
He did manage to get his black belt's 40 now, and he has brought back another black belt, probably to go ahead and get some levels on him. It's going to be interesting to see what his role ends up becoming. What may end up happening is the red mage casts red mage stuff, the off black belt wields a mass immune, and then that other black belt's going to be 42 with 10 hits.
That would be my guess. Maybe having one other party member attempt to run for the fights that are runnable is what he's going for. Black belt and red mage are some of the crappiest running parties party members that have success at running in the game. Although a level 42 black belt usually does pretty well if he decides to run.
Yeah, and if not for that, then they just decide to run away from him.
So Q pickup for Salty Fry. He is going to be right behind Quicklit here, with the advantage of having already killed the Lich in Earth Cave, but with the disadvantage of not having a powered up black belt the way that Quicklit does. So I'd say if Quicklit's going to be in a lot of trouble, more trouble than he's already in, if he does not remember to go to the Cardia Islands after finishing up Sea Shrine here.
Yeah, because then if he forgets that all existed, who knows where he could end up, because we've noticed that Ice Cave and Ordeals are not needed. So the worst thing he could possibly do is touch either of those dungeons. What just had crack?
Yeah, I missed that. It was one of them. The ghosts have Scorch. Was it one of the Sahags?
Yeah, it was up in Quicklit's screen.
Well, luckily, 2 ribbons took care of it, and then the other black belt managed to avoid the earth when it done quaketh. But yeah, it's Quicklit's definitely gonna have to hit up Cardia Islands when he gets done here. Or he's gonna have some trubs. I'd have to tip my hat in Salty Fry's direction right now, but with the caveat being he's gonna have a real tough Temple of Fiends. Oh wow, and his black belt dies, but guess what? You've got the best heal spell in the game, Life 2.
Yeah, those lobsters are not playing around.
Huh? I could have swore he found the Zeus Gauntlet already. Maybe he stopped checking chests when everyone else had found it.
I'd be willing to bet it's probably the Wizard Sahag with the crack. I think 3 or 4 red Sahags got to go, and all of them meleeed.
That doesn't necessarily mean much in a world where some people can see nuke on enemies and some people can encounter that same group 4 or 5 times and never see it. I'm not still salty from my race yesterday or anything. I might be a little.
All these flavors, you choose salty.
I couldn't help it. Salt is an ingredient in so much ice cream. Meanwhile, Len the Cat, still just destroying Agamas. We see Czar setting up. He's cooking some party members. He might be setting up for a grind of his own here.
Which is going to stink for him, because, I mean, starting a grind at the 104 mark means he's got to feel pretty behind.
Yeah, but he does have, I believe he does have knowledge of all the required items here. I believe he already got and translated his slab. So he's got his eye on the end game. So I have a feeling that he's going to take his black belt at least to 32, if not all the way up to the low 40s with his eye on that 42 goal.
Yeah, and I think if you're behind, you maybe think that you just go ahead and take that grind all the way up and then just hope Temple of Fiends has something fairly nasty in it.
Yep. Because that way you've already, you've already lost your time early. There's no reason to lose even further time later. Interesting. Salty Fi going for the greed chests in Sea Shrine when he's already technically in go mode. And again, I think he's looking for those safeties. He's looking for a defense sword, white shirt, maybe a power gauntlet.
Well, there's Opal Bracelet in the Sharknado room just past the trap tile.
That's hard to argue with. Although that really only benefits his red mage. But still, it's nice to have. That could be the difference between surviving the icy cold hand of Kraken 2 versus being super dead.
Yeah, and the thing about Black Belt is the more you check his absorb, the more it resets to what his equipped items are. So when he levels up, his absorb will go up to what his level is, which should be 41 or 42 coming up. But if you don't have items equipped and you go check your armor menu to move stuff around, there's a bug where it resets your absorb total to whatever it is you happen to have equipped. So hopefully he stops checking his armor menu after this point.
Does he have a safety gold bracelet on just for backup? I can't remember.
I think he does. There's shit because I think there was one that was found. And then Red Mage should be wielding either silver armor, which I've seen, or even one of the silver bracelets.
But he's heading back to the Gershark tile. He might be looking to pick up some experience here. Kraken 1 is no slouch. It could be that he wants to get his black belt to 32 before he takes this fight.
Yeah, without fast, that might be an important level to get for him.
This is good news for Quicklet, though, because that is going to punish him a little less hard for not remembering to go to the Zardia Islands first.
Yeah, and we're going to take our first look here at Kraken 1.
I'm surprised he's taking the time to menu these heal potions. If he gets meleeed, he's just dead. He could have also life 2'd his other black belt if he wanted to be extra safe, but doesn't look like it's going to matter.
Oh, but it's a paper Kraken. He only had less than 629 hit points.
Well, Kraken has, I think Vanilla Kraken has 800, so definitely rolled under his average, but not too far off anyway.
So I think Quicklet's actually going to go Mermaid side since he came back to Onrak.
Yeah, I mean, if you're here, you're committed to checking it. There's very little reason to clear the front of it and then leave before you check the most treasure gens part of it. So I'd say the only way this could really benefit Quicklet is if, again, if like white shirt or defense sword is up here. When you've got a 42-ish black belt, you really don't need to spend a lot of time using the power gauntlet on him. So even a power gauntlet fine for him at this point would not be super beneficial. Like he might get some mileage out of it by putting it on his Masamune black belt, but even then, not sure how worth it would be. Meanwhile, we haven't talked a whole lot about Len and Zardia, but they are in the middle of hashtag Agamafax grind, so nothing crazy exciting, but they're just getting that necessary work done on that fight over there.
Yeah, and though they may look like they're behind on the screen, certainly we never know what's going to happen come Temple of Fiends. A deep wipe could cost our runners at least 15 minutes worth of time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely give the if anyone was gonna dark horse this, I would give it to Zardia just because he already has go mode and he's gonna be getting a 42 black belt. But the ball is definitely in the court of Salty Fry and Quicklit right now, just based on just the sheer amount of progression they already have done.
And unfortunately for the viewers, this is another fairly straightforward match, with the crown being in Marsh Cave that everyone was going to find, the floater being in Volcano, where is the highest percentage play, slab being in the free chest at Cardia Islands, finding 2 ribbons before not.
But it really does showcase, when the routing aspect of the seed is a little bit more minimized. It really shows the skill of players at how well they can execute, how well they can set a plan and follow through on it. That's why good players like Artea and stuff like that tend to do well, because they have a plan and they execute and stick well with it. And sometimes you lose to variance, and that's just the randomizer. But when you have a straightforward seed like this, people with good plans, good execution generally tend to do pretty well, and it's always interesting to see that.
Meanwhile, in the middle of Files' ranting, we found the white shirt.
Meanwhile, back in the halls of White Shirt, we need to get one of those like Justice League screen transition, like laser beam white balls. This is why I don't run the restream.
Yeah, I definitely think in future seasons we could step up the quality of these video broadcasts. Good old graphic images, flashing lights, and maybe even some funky sounds.
All right, so Len the Cat punches the crap out of Carrie. So Len, to stay competitive in this race, needs to take his very well leveled black belt, get that floater, and go straight to Cardia Islands. Now that's a pretty logical play to make, but Quicklet did not make it and is unfortunately paying for it. So we'll see what happens in the upper right corner of the screen here.
Yeah, I like Quicklet. He's a great player, but there's a small part of me that just wants to hear his saltiness after he's done with all this and realizes he could have just gone to get the slab. And
pretty much, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've done enough for these races where I mean, somebody will for yeah, it was with Sahags that had crack for sure. Sometimes you just forget about Zardia Islands. You just, in your mind, it's just part of the thing that you do when you get the airship, and then every once in a while you just forget it.
oh yeah, no less than twice I have forgotten the ice cave exists as a dungeon. So
well, I mean, I do that in other randomizers too, like in the Zelda 3 randomizer. Like I'll bomb the wall in the bottom of Thief's or in Blind's hut, and then I'll forget to actually go in there and open up the chest. And then in your mind, you've already checked it. So if there's anything important in there, you're just hosed. Like you didn't even realize it was something you had to do.
yeah, and I think you get that idea, the game plan and the sequence in your mind, and like, so once you find this item, you think, okay, I gotta, like, say you find the floater and you're like, okay, I need free chests, and then the first immediate thing is like, what's the next progression? And so sometimes a lot of people are just drawn to Sea Shrine next because of the need to kill Kraken, the ability to gain levels, and then when you don't find it, you just think, okay, what's the next progression? Okay, I need to get to Sky Castle. And so then you just sort of forget about the little things, like, oh yeah, Ice Cave exists, and that's where your crown might be.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the randomizer, is you can take the statistically safe plays, but like we saw Quicklet do in the beginning of the seed, taking advantage of the specific variances in your particular seed, understanding that the encounter table was manipulatable so that you could take that key you just got on Elfland, just quick run over to Astos' castle, just on the off chance that the TNT is there, just because it doesn't cost you much time in this seed. And it was, and it made his routing pay off perfectly. And you can extend that thought process to so many things in this randomizer, which is why it's fun to play.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where, if Salty Fry goes back and watches his VOD and has that realization, just, the little things, especially like, let's say we flash forward about 30 minutes or so, and Salty Fry may lose by 30 seconds or something like that. Salty Fry could go back and look and see that encounter 2 that could have gotten him to Northwest Castle could very well have been the difference.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always amazing when you have a group of good runners and you give them the same seed. Even though there's a whole bunch of variants and routing and what have you, you can have people running a 2-hour seed and all finishing within 5 minutes of each other. It's just ridiculous.
Well, thankfully, Quicklet went Zardia Islands after Ice or after Sea Shrine, so he has got his slab.
And if you listen carefully, if you listen real close, you can hear the sound of him banging his head against the wall as he flies south.
I mean, just be glad he didn't think he already checked it or something and then went to one of the auxiliary dungeons to find probably nothing at this point. I mean, one more ribbon, the power gauntlet, and maybe the defense sword are the last, premium items left on the table.
Yep. Now, if Salty Fry was looking for items, this floor of Sky Castle would be a place to look. It is very chest dense. But it looks like he's just gonna take these 4 ones over here, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah,
see if he finds anything.
Just about always check the 4, but if you're kind of feeling like you're in go mode, especially if he even thinks back to some of the mistakes that he had made, like the Northwest Castle trip or lack thereof.
I hate to interrupt you, but he needs experience, and he's running from the double Nacho fight, and that just hurts my soul.
He did run from the double Nacho fight. He should have taken that one, but he's got Warmech, and Warmech's got some hit points.
He's taken the fight. What a baller.
He needs the experience. He definitely needs this right here.
Well, he needs the experience. Why did he run from those double Nachos? Because he knew Warmech was coming, and he's like, I can't afford to stop.
That's it.
Wow.
So Salty Fry gets +1 to his swag score for killing that, but he's going to skip the double nachos again. He still needs, he needs to be 32 by the time he hits, Kraken 2. So he's got...
I'd want to be 32 before Carry 2, man.
Especially without fast.
Oh, yeah. I mean, temper will help, but it's sure no fast, and you just don't have a lot of charges of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it tempers at 5. That's probably one of the reasons I feel like if he struggles in Temple of Fiends on a boss, it's going to be because he did not get those extra levels that he needs. Because I mean, like I said, temper 5 gives you no more than 5 charges, and I mean, realistically, you probably need more than 1 in certain fights.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. So I mean, with so we see Quicklet taking advantage of the encounter table. So Quicklet is behind Salty Fry, but man, is he going to be screaming through these dungeons and through the Temple of Fiends. So Salty Fry really needs to take advantage of his lead and just execute very well. And Temple of Fiends Revisited, and I hope he doesn't get a scary, crazy Temple of Fiends final boss, because that could be very rough for him to complete with his party as it is now.
Genuinely curious to know why his black belt's still wielding Mass Immune. At 30, you've crossed the threshold where black belt does more damage with his fists than with Mass Immune. That threshold's at 28 or 29.
28 is correct, yep. Yeah, it could be, he's so close to the margin that, he's okay with it. I don't know what to tell you. Crit rate definitely better, Actually, is it though? Because what crit rate is? Do we know exactly what level his black belt is?
I think
because maybe he's worried about the high absorb Tiamat fight and was trying to maximize his crit potential there.
30 was where he left off. Oh, take the steak and wings fight.
Well, I mean, we saw him skipping more EXP rich fights than that. So if he's following that logic pattern, he's sticking to it, I guess.
I really feel like even if it's just 3 fights, those 3 fights would have gotten him a level.
Picking up Saber on his Red Mage. Maybe he's planning on using Masamune to up a Red Mage for some of these fights.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah. Well, the problem to that is a Red Mage can't cast Temper on his Black Belt and cast Saber on himself on the same turn, so... while you're trying to set all that up, the 8 technically hands of Kraken 2 are reaching out to touch you.
You know, I wonder if he's picking up Saber for like the carry 2 fight.
Maybe.
You know, let Red Mage take the initial bulk, the Lich 2, the carry 2 fight. Let him carry the load on that. Let Black Belt tank those. If he dies, he dies. And then, once he gets to the Kraken 2, then switch the load over to Black Belt.
It could just be that he thinks he might be able to make use of it somehow, and while he's thinking about his other strategy, he's just kind of autopilot picking it up. Sometimes I'll do that. To my shame, I will, pick up a spell like that I think I might have a use for, and I'll spend like 40 seconds doing it, and then I complete the entire game, and I never once used it. Picking up that late Pro Ring for maximum absorb on his Red Mage, not a terrible idea.
Does he have a Pro Cape? I don't know if we've seen any of the Pro Capes in this game.
No, I don't think we have either. I knew this was an amateur class run.
Yeah, Len the cat checking the water chest too. I don't see the slab on his tracker. He may not have seen it in Zardi Islands either.
This will be a powerful lesson for a few of the runners here about remembering to check the free easy chests whenever you can. All right, so Quicklet made pretty quick work of Earth Cave.
Yeah, but see, Quicklet's now a full dungeon behind, which, I mean, at this rate, if he can clear it in 4 to 5 minutes, that's probably about the gap between him and Salty Fry.
Yep. But he does have, even if you include the prep time for bosses, the margins could be smaller than that because, all Quicklet has to do is hold A and laugh IRL while he kills bosses, whereas Salty Fry has to do a little bit more setup, manage his buffs, res more meat shields, and, all it takes is a wipe on, one of the later floors of Temple of Fiends, and we've got ourselves a very close race.
Interesting, the Gas Dragons are semi-low hit point, but semi-high evasion.
Question in chat, did I hear the lobsters were nasty? Yes, they actually have a pretty high attack rating, or attack damage number, and they often get multiple hits, so the Randomizer can take that slightly higher than normal average number and really roll it up, and lobsters could become very murderous. There's a lot of seeds where lobsters are actually more scary than waters, depending on what the Randomizer's done to them.
Yeah, definitely. When you get that seafood party platter with 6 lobsters, it's not a sight to behold.
No, that is the stuff of nightmares. In fact, there's a lot of scary things in the Sea Shrine because ghosts are, not only are they unrunnable, but they have a very high base attack damage. So if the Randomizer gives them an extra hit with its stat rolling and rolls up their attacks, they can be hitting you for 300 plus damage apiece, and you can't run from them. That's always scary.
Salty Fry has hit back-to-back-to-back Gas Dragon fights. I think he started at the top of the encounter table too with that very long run.
Maybe he knew it was coming and was going to use that for his experience to get him over 32.
Meanwhile, Quicklet's enjoying some steak and wings.
Curious that he decided to take that fight.
He must really want those levels on that off black belt.
Or maybe he enjoys snack food.
Steak and wings are very tasty.
All right, we see him throwing away that first encounter, and then he'll be enjoying that nice long walk. He's gonna be able to get through most of this floor before his first fight.
He's not gonna check the bottom floor of Mirage Tower. With that long of a run, you might be able to get all the treasure chests without. I mean, if you're looking for a third ribbon for that off black belt, but I don't know.
Honestly, I think with the percentages that this seed is at, I personally would not have even bothered with that black belt. I might have kept 1 or 2 of them alive in front as meat shields, but spending time getting experience when you have a 42 black belt and access to life 2 and all that other stuff, it just seems like over insurance against the variance that this randomizer can throw at you.
Yeah, it's interesting because with, like I said, with life 2 being where it is at now, hopefully none of our runners have to use Fire 3, which is also tied to life 2 in the level 2 spell slot. But with the idea that you could pick up the 2 dead black belts almost whenever you want. It almost lends credence to just leaving them dead and just rezzing them when you need them.
All right, the real test for Salty Fry is going to begin quite shortly here. We'll make our way through the earth floor, which isn't typically too scary. Lich is only bad if he inherits some particularly bad spells, and then the real test for his lower level party composition is going to start at Carry 2.
Meanwhile, we have both Len the cat and Zardia clearing out Kraken.
And Len, unfortunately, just paying for not checking the Cardia Islands very similarly to Quicklit, unfortunately. So he's enjoying that ghost fight I was mentioning earlier.
Yes, Salty, the question is, Salty did not wipe. He had opened the Temple of Fiends with back-to-back-to-back Gas Dragon fights, and now I think he's had back-to-back Worm fights, which Worms had Stone Poison, so thankfully he made through.
And, you know, when it's that early in the encounter table, when you're just entering the dungeon, it's almost worth resetting out to just throw away those fights and see what you get further on.
Yeah, well, also, one thing I would...
Another Warmac fight.
Oh, and of course Quicklet's going to take this.
Oh, yeah. Well, he did the same encounter table reset that Salty Fry did when he went through, so it makes sense that they'd see it.
That's true. So our blessed RNG rates have gone through the roof. We might see 2 more Warmacs before the end of the night.
But the advantage to taking all those fights, as Chad is mentioning, is that it's pushed him well over that 32 threshold. So all he needs is just a little bit of luck. If these bosses don't roll with a crazy high absorb or evade, Salty Fry could still pull this out very easily, and it will be a pretty well executed run for him.
Yeah, I'd almost feel like that Quicklet and Salty Fry needed to switch strategies. Salty Fry was the one who I think should have taken all those fights that he ran away from, and Quicklet should have been running from all of that, but we'll see how the rest of this plays out.
Ooh, Tiamat 1 taking a full full hit from that 43-ish black belt on Quicklet's screen there.
Yeah, Tiamat 1 definitely had a little more hit points than he should have.
He's a jerk. I'm a little ashamed that I'm not seeing any Brack strats from his red mage.
The Tempers are not doing a whole lot. He gained maybe 70 hit points worth of damage between that Temper.
Yeah, Tiamat 1 definitely proving to be quite resilient here. And this is the kind of fight that quickly needed to 1 round to really try to make up time against Salty Fry, and unfortunately it just did not happen. Some of it was just bad luck as far as how many hits he got on the evasion from Tiamat, but still...
And one of the black belts for Salty Fry doing his job, resurrected one of them, took a punch to the face.
Carrie did not roll too much attack, so the opal bracelets and everything else really protecting that red mage. So probably the 4th toughest boss down, but the 3 scariest left in this dungeon are still here to go.
Yeah, this is about the kind of point where I mentioned earlier in the match. It's like, okay, does resetting from the top of the encounter table net you a really good run across this floor? One of the interesting
We'll be finding out shortly.
Yeah, one of the interesting strategies that we didn't discuss is inside any room, like if you walk into a room, you open the door, any square in front of or behind the door is not... oh, and Salty Fry did not do the routing I was about to mention. The square in front of and behind the door is not... you can't get an encounter, but in addition, anything adjacent to the door on the inside of the door, along the wall, you can't get into an encounter for. So if you run along the wall... until you have to make the turn up or down, if it's attached to a door, you can't get into an encounter on it. And so the best, most optimal routing would be right along those walls with the doors.
Salty Fry not being too punished for mismoving, though. His encounters down here have all been runnable fights.
Yeah, he wasted probably, I'd say, 4 or 5 steps. So we'll see as he parts this floor whether or not it actually comes back to hit him or not.
Oh, you could get punished for that even on the walk on the air floor too.
Well, that's it then. He's going to hit Twilight Fan Club 5 steps from the stairs.
or nothing but just iron golems, unrunnable iron golems.
Quicklet's finding the back-to-back-to-back Gas Dragon fight, and I wonder if he's going to start regretting all those levels he gained.
All right. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest with you, that he did not use all of his Life 2 charges on this boss. Oh wow, was that only 100 some damage from his black belt?
We're going to see what happens because fast.
Oh jeez.
Oh, his red mage is down.
Oh no. We need big crits. Okay, that was a good hit. And Kraken uses ink, so that's a good time waste. Oh man. I paid for my whole seat, but I'm only gonna need the edge. Oh, he kills the front line. Oh, and he gets the kill.
We're down to 1 black belt alone as he attempts to use his heal potions and get through the rest. He's got no power glove. I don't remember if he has white shirt or not. I don't think he does.
I'm trying to think. I don't think he does because I think he might be afraid to go to the armor screen and check. Although with his level, he might get more benefit out of a pro ring and an opal bracelet than he would his absorb level just for his base level.
Definitely, because I think he has got to be 32 or like missed it because they're menuing so fast.
Yeah. Oh, he takes a huge hit from Tiamat. Oh, and 1 damage! Oh no. Okay, that was a pretty decent hit. Oh man. He needs Tiamat to just keep throwing these garbage spells and keep getting crits.
And he needs like 400 hit point Tiamat.
Nuclear!
Oh, no.
Oh my god. He could still pull it out with low hit point Tiamat. Come on. Oh, these damage spells are being resisted by the ribbon, but they're just chipping away.
Wow!
Oh my god. Well, the margins of that were so... What was he at? 30 hit points? Sweet lord. Woo! This is why 42 black belt is the safest, folks. But, to his credit, all he has to do is get through chaos. He's got the heal potions for it.
Woo! My Apple Watch just told me that saw a heart rate spike after being inactive for more than 10 minutes.
You know you're a nerd when your pulse is racing from watching the hot Final Fantasy randomizer action. I love it. All right, so we got chaos here. Scary things that we could see. We haven't seen Nuke yet. We have not seen Cure 4. Oh, and chaos takes a ton of damage.
Good. Barring anything crazy.
Oh no, Cure 4! Oh man, he has to hope his spell list has way more than Cure 4.
He doesn't hit. Well, that hit was kind of hard.
That was. Ugh. Oh, see, he got 7 hits with some crits, and that was only 200 some damage. I think he just got real lucky with that first hit, and it all got healed away by Cure 4. He just has to hope that Chaos has low health.
Oh, and now we're chipping some spells out there.
A couple melee attacks could do it.
Oh. I know he's got a ribbon, but every time I see Zapper and instant death, I'm always just afraid it's going to be instant death.
Oh, that's it! Oh, wow. Chaos rolling the low health. Wow. GG. Well played to Salty Fry. Salty Fry takes first place with an official SRL race time of 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 51 seconds.
That was kind of back and forth, really, between him and Quicklet. He got out to that lead early with the pop grind and was able to get out, and then it was the decision not to go to Northwest Castle that really separated Quicklet, and Quicklet took the lead for a long time until Quicklet failed to check Cardia Islands before going Sea Shrine. I think had Quicklet not done that, that's the time makeup.
Oh yeah, I mean, Quicklet is already on I mean, even though Salty Fry succeeded in those fights, they took a long time to complete. You know, Quicklet is a step away from carry 2, and he'll probably turn her into a bloody paste with his black belt's fist very soon here. So yeah, I think I agree with you. The difference maker was definitely Quicklet just forgetting to go to Cardia Islands. But man, what an epic finish to that race. Salty Fry with a 30 hit point margin getting past Tiamat with nuclear. That was good stuff right there.
Yeah, and honestly, even if you factor out the extra fights that Quicklet has taken, I think it really does come down to the chests that he checked in Sea Shrine.
Yeah, I mean the margins either way were pretty tight. So this definitely could have been anyone's race, but definitely well played to Salty Fry. He really did pull out that race. He knew where his margins were, and he played to them, and got just a little bit lucky. But you know, when you're good at this game, you know exactly how far you need to go and where you can and can't depend on luck. All right, so it looks like we've got our I think Ali Jabrap is coming back on the bottom left corner down here. He is saying hi to our friend Tyro and brutally murdering him. He's a terrible human being.
I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
You know, I'm a pretty hardline member of Team Tyro, but sometimes, you know, if that's the best place to grind for experience, that's where you gotta go. Does that mean I sell out my principles when it's convenient? I think that the answer to that is yes.
Clearly.
All right, so we've got Quicklet on Kraken 2. Wow, was that 1,000 damage even to that black belt? Good lord.
Oh. Some things, it's glad to have brought a 42 black belt.
Oh, that was a big hit. And a second hit for 600. Oh, and he luckily goes with the spell.
All right, so we have got Salty Fry in the channel, Salty GG.
Thank you very much.
Man, that was a nail biter Temple of Fiends revisited if I ever saw one, Salty Fry.
Oh, you're telling me that Tiamat fight, jeez. I thought I was done for sure there.
I think we counted at the end. You were at exactly 30 hit points. That is an entire heal potion's worth of health. Was the margin between a wipe and a victory there.
On top of that, I kept getting lucky with him doing like Ice 2 and Lit 2, I think, in the last 2 or 3 turns there to actually even just get the opportunity to kill him.
Yeah, and a pretty good roll on nuclear too, actually.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, that
true.
was. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was just a little over 100, I think, wasn't it?
But I had to say, well done on your routing, sir. You you know, you left Volcano, and you know, didn't execute a grind on the Agamas or anything like that. And then having gotten the floater, you know, you went straight to the Cardia Islands. So the routing was pretty straightforward this seed. What were you thinking as you were progressing further along in the seed, and you know, you hadn't executed a large grind on your black belt or anything? Like, what was your strategy?
Well, I had the mass immune, so that was kind of in my back pocket. I kind of felt like. At the same time, I did want to get some levels at some point in time, so I was trying to take fights wherever I could. So I took a bunch of Gur shards here and there, and Sea Shrine, and took what I could. Then when I finally got to Temple of Fiends, I wasn't too sure if I was actually going to be able to get through it or not. Then it felt like the first 6 or 7 fights I had going through there were all unrunnables. And all the gas dragons I fought at the beginning really helped level me up, along with that war mech actually that I took as well. So next thing you know, I'm at like 34, 35, and my optimism going way, way up in terms of whether or not I could get through. Until I got to that Kraken fight, and he goes right for my red mage. And then, who knows, right?
Yeah, we were a little worried for you going into going into Temple of Fiends, but yeah, those Gasty fights and the war mech right at the end of Sky Castle really kind of catapulted you over that experience threshold that you mentioned there.
Well, I did win the first race of this stage as well, so I was kind of in, I just kind of go for it mood as well. And the last race I was in as well was kind of one of my worst ones, where I skipped the chest with floater accidentally and had no clue where it was, so it's kind of out for revenge as well today.
that always affects the planning for sure. I mean, there's definitely a different metagame in these league races. And as we see Quicklet encountering Chaos, what was your thought process when you got a whole bunch of hits on Chaos and then saw him cast Cure 4?
That was a little depressing, but there wasn't a whole lot I could really do about it. Just kind of hold A at that point in time, right? And just hope for the best.
Yeah, glad that it was early in the spell list.
Yeah, that was it. At least it was his first spell, right? That was the one good thing it had going for it.
So we have Quicklet finishing with a second place with an official SRL time of 1:38.26. We'll try and get him in here.
Yeah, well played to Quicklet. I had to say, I'll skip the specifics until Quicklet gets in here if he wants to do an interview. But you and Quicklet were kind of back and forth this whole race. So it was a kind of a fun treat to watch you guys kind of go at it in a seed that had relatively straightforward routing and was a pretty execution-based seed.
Yeah, everything was kind of right there. It felt like everything just right in the line. You get the crown, go get the TNT, and then as long as you go to Volcano and you don't try to go Ordeals or Ice, you should be fine in this one. It feels like pretty hard to miss anything beyond that.
Well, I personally would never fault anyone for going to Ordeals, sir.
Oh, I've done that many times in this, in the last two stages as well myself. If I have no money, I'll go grind over in Crescent Lake, and then I'll go back over to Elfland. Specifically, this is if I don't go to Marsh Cave early on.
Just to keep an eye on the action that's going on still, Ali G's actually found the tail in Sky Castle F1.
Interesting.
Thankfully, the spell allotment I thought was fairly generous for you. Minus Nuke and Fade, everything else locked into place without having to get the tail. Must have been pretty nice.
Yeah, really. I mean, when you get to, what was it, Melmond, and see, like, the only two black magic spells you can learn there are Warp and Temper, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's the package that you like to see. I'd say the only thing you were really missing was maybe Exit, but Fast would be the only thing that would have maybe been really beneficial, especially for your slightly lower level strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Even maybe Invis 2 somewhere would have been alright.
So now we've got Len the Cat working on Warmech now. Everybody found the Warmech because I think everybody restarted and took that encounter 2 into the dungeons. So now we are joined by Quicklet. Quicklet, GG.
Thank you.
So I gotta ask you a question, Quicklet, because it might have been a determiner of this race. But what was going through your mind when you left the Sea Shrine and then ducked over to the Zardi Islands over there?
Yeah, that was very upsetting, especially when I saw Files finish, or I'm sorry, Salty Fry finish just before I did, and I knew that that's probably why.
You had a pretty good execution on that seed. I was especially impressed early game when you identified the gap in the encounter table after the reset. You took that key and you walked over to Northwest Castle first because it was going to be convenient to check before you did the rest of the loop, and you were very well rewarded for it with the ribbon and the TNT. So you went off to an early lead over your opponent Salty Fry. But unfortunately, the late Zardia Island check definitely hurt you.
I mean, I found some good stuff in Mermaids, but it probably wasn't really worthwhile just because the Fiends died relatively quickly. But I think I found the white shirt down there, which was pretty good.
Yeah, it's hard to say no to the white shirt whenever you find it. But yeah, your 42 black belt definitely made pretty quick work. Salty Fry did manage to get through. I think both his red mage and black belt were in the mid-low 30s.
Yeah, I got another. I usually just 2-man it, but I got another black belt up because I had the Mazmoon and the Sun Sword, and I figured the Sun Sword was going to be pretty good on the red mage until I got my second black belt up to a decent level. So. I actually picked the second one up, and it turned out to be really useful when a gas dragon got squint through my level 8 black belt or whatever and killed him off.
Yeah, that's always a fun welcome to Final Fantasy randomizer moment.
Yeah, he had ribbon and pro ring. Didn't matter. Squint.
See, if you were to buy a lottery ticket with those same odds, you would lose.
Of course.
All right, Len the Cat finishing up Tiamat. So that is his 4th crystal lit. So he'll be heading on over to Temple of Fiends very shortly here.
Yeah, it looks like he's just a couple minutes behind Zardia. But with Zarn G, you never really know what's going to happen to him. So, quickly, I gotta ask: do you feel like now that you've run through it, do you feel like you would have you regret leveling that second black belt in terms of just the sheer volume of fights you took, or do you stand by it? Because I know, like, my thought is it was purely checking all of Sea Shrine. Like, you could throw the rest of the encounters as far as time goes out, but do you feel like that time was spent wasted?
Probably. I mean, outside of that one gas dragon encounter, it didn't make that big of a difference to have a second black belt. It made the gas dragons die a little faster because I ran into, what, 3 packs of them, I think. But he wasn't very useful on the fiends, even at level, like, 30. He just wasn't doing any damage, and I only had so many temper casts. There was no fast, so I couldn't get him to the point where he was really doing a lot of damage to the fiends anyway. So it might have been better to go with the 2-man.
Salty, your opening move against Chaos, you punched him for like 2 damage. What went through your mind right at that moment?
I didn't actually see that, to be honest with you. I was kind of looking away. I didn't even know. I was just holding eggs, and it didn't really matter what would happen going forward. That was all I could do at that point.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Because we were worried for you because your first hit for 1. It was 1 hit for 2 or something like that.
Jeez, it's probably good that I didn't see that. I probably would have felt awfully crummy if that was the case.
Yeah, just so you know, quickly, your opponents got through Tiamat 2 with 1 black belt alive with 30 hit points, and managed to get all the way through to Chaos. So yeah, it was a very entertaining race. So thanks for putting on a show for us, guys.
That's kind of surprising. I thought Kraken 2 was so much scarier than Tiamat.
Well, Kraken was the one that really wrecked me. He took out my red mage, and then all I had left was just the 1 black belt at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kraken 2 is the secret boss. It is known.
Looks like Len the Cat is skipping the gas dragon fights.
Yeah, I
And
was
more
thinking about this as I watched both of you two start the Temple of Fiends. There's so many unrunnables at the start of the seed that throwing away seems nice, but man, was that water floor walk nice. I don't think you saw a single water from the encounter table reset at the beginning.
And the other thing is those bad men had 3 hits, and they had a lot of offense as well, so they won't be a fun fight if you take them instead.
Yeah, those are definitely some bad men.
Did Len do 4-man the entire time?
No, he's got a his one of his black belts is in the upper or mid low 40s.
No, mid upper 40s. It's 46 actually.
Oh yeah, you are correct.
But he rezzed the other 3 afterwards. After his grind.
Yeah. And
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, it's good to see that Life 2 was there to allow you to have meat shields.
Yeah, this seed gets a lot more risky at medium levels without any revives.
That was the one thing that gave me some solace, is the fact that I had that life 2 at low levels, so I could just res my dead black belts for like Kraken and carry and that type of thing.
Yeah, we were discussing it during the run, but I often think that carry 2 and carry 1 especially don't get enough credit for how potentially deadly they can be in this randomizer.
Zar's up against Kraken 2, and Zar just takes the shot right at the red mage.
Oh jeez.
Poor red mage.
I think we're 2 for 3 dead red mages on Kraken 2 right now. That's RNG for you right there.
Yeah, unfortunately, see, now one of the things that, if you don't know, party composition, where they're slotted makes kind of a big deal. Zar went in with an empty slot in the top, empty slot in the top, if the boss decides to swing at it, which is normally a 50% chance, if he swings at the top and the top one's dead, it recalculates to the next available sort of thing, and it resets the percentage chance to hit. So without putting a character in that top slot, it actually opened up his red mage to slightly more risk. I don't know why he didn't stick one of his black mages in the top slot, or black belts in the top slot, but unfortunately he paid for it.
Let's see if Chaos runs away.
With a level 50, I mean, this black belt is level 50. He's just a beefcake.
Yeah, but he's in the third slot. He has to be in the first slot.
Yeah.
His first slot guy is level
2
3.
hits and Chaos is dead.
Yep, looks like it. So Czar finishing up in third place with an SRL race time, 1 hour, 49 minutes, 18 seconds. So I guess if you're going to have terrible Czar NG at the end of a race, having it not actually matter toward your finish is a good way to have it, I suppose. All right, so we'll give Czar a chance to get a quick calm down from that run, and we'll see if we can't get him in for an interview here. Meanwhile, we've got Len and Ali fighting it out for 4th and 5th place, respectively. Len definitely in the lead, being in Temple of Fiends Revisited. Did not see where Nuke was living on any of the Fiends. I'm wondering if it was on like Lich or something like that that we just didn't see enough of.
Oh, did everyone else run into Warmech also?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody did the power cycle at the beginning. All right, so we see Len coming up on carry 2.
Yeah, so I mentioned back at the very few guys that have stuck with us for the whole run, I did make that mention of trying to figure out where the 7s and 8s are in your encounter table. If they were 12 to 15 encounters deep, you could see Warmech, and sure enough, it had come to fruition.
Wow, carry takes 1,300 damage. Yowza. And of course, when you're running through Earth Cave and you're alley, you always hit the wizard fights when you don't want to see them because you can't run from them. Looks like we are joined in the room by Czar. GG, Czar. Had a nice little bit of Czar and G both at the beginning and end of your Temple of Fiends Revisited there run.
Uh-oh. I don't know if it's you. I can't hear him.
Oh, yeah, I see you turning green, but I'm not hearing any noise, Czar. Hopefully, Czar will be able to get that minor audio issue fixed here. In the meantime, we've got Len the Cat taking on Kraken 2. Let's see if his red mage is able to survive. He got a round of white shirt buffs off. This is the best odds we've seen. Oh, he goes for the black belt instead.
And he's down. It's a shame. So far, Kraken 2 goes 2 for 4 on red mages.
That's pretty good odds considering all the red mages were in the back of the party for 12.5%, or perhaps a little higher with only 3 party members alive.
I still don't believe that applies to the Beans and Topher. Swear they have some
Well,
special
with a
ability.
50% death rate, the tiny sample size is in your favor. All right, let's see if Len the Cat discovers the fun that was nuclear Tiamat.
And we are joined once again by Zar. Zar, can you hear us?
Yeah, is this thing on now?
Yes,
It
we can
is.
hear you, sir. GG, congrats on your third place finish there.
Thank you. I hope everyone saw that because, I mean, that was just astounding. Once again, the game has defied its own logic and programming.
Well,
I assume you're referencing the incredible number of unrunnables at the beginning of Temple of Fiends there.
I mean, 7 of 7. Have you guys ever seen that before?
yeah, actually, every other runner encountered that because that was off of Encounter 2 from the reset. So the opening was worms, then 3 gas dragons, and then I think 2 more worms or something like that.
It was pretty hilarious to watch. And also, as I'm sure you noticed when you took on Warmech, that was part of the this glorious encounter table too. So were you worried at all when you saw Warmech Zar? Or were you just like, nope, that's par for the course for my luck?
I've come to expect it. I mean, quite honestly, the worst things unfold. I couldn't even get to Provoca early because I had 2 cabins. I used one outside the bridge. I used the next outside Matoya's cave, and I couldn't get there because it was 4 encounter spam and white.
Yeah, I saw you type that early in the race chat. What was it that was killing you early? Was it just some harder hitting like horses or something, or?
It was just common enemies with initiatives that are uncommon, but common to my stream.
It's always hard early in the game when you don't have a lot of cabins or whatnot and you don't know the encounter table super well yet. Yeah, that initial run to Provoca can definitely be risky. Did you go straight to Provoca, or did you try to go to Temple of Fiends first?
I went straight to Provoca, and like I said, I actually had to end up walking back from my save outside Matoya's cave to Corneria to in up there and get another cabin to make my way to Provoca. It was quite astounding.
Sounds about right. Speaking of astounding, we're seeing Len the Cats on the Chaos fight. He's got all 4 party members alive because Kraken did not reach out and touch his red mage.
Yep, I called the Warmech right before it happened. I called the Kraken attacking the red mage right before it happened. I called several things in this run, and it was really interesting to watch them happen.
Well, don't feel bad. Kraken went 2 for 4 on the other red mage party members, so he definitely was out for blood.
He's a salty squid today, isn't he?
All day, every day. All right, so that's Len the Cats finishing up Chaos. Gets a official SRL race time, 1 hour, 55 minutes, 56 seconds. So GG to him.
Yep, and we've got Ali G in Temple of Fiends, kind of running around, probably gaining some levels, maybe?
Definitely not
Maybe
a bad idea.
throwing away fights. Yeah, he Ali did not end up with a max level black belt. So, I mean, ever since the experience fixes to the randomizer a few patches ago, leveling in the Temple of Fiends is not crazy if you've got the offense to do it. And it looks like we are joined in the commentary here by Len the Cats. GG, Len.
Oh, thanks for the GG. I could have finished a little faster. I had some bad search patterns, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what was going through your mind when you finally rolled up to the sacred Zardia Islands and found your slab there.
Myself, because normally the first thing I do is always check those islands the second I get the airship, and this time I thought I'd be fancy, and I thought, oh, maybe I can find it in the sea shrine, and that turned out to be a fool's errand.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, at least one of your other race members did the same pattern that you did and ended up empty-handed early.
What did he just call me?
And that person was Quicklet. Still, though, Len, I have to say, you were one of the few people to make it through the Kraken 2 fight with a 100% alive red mage.
Really? Well, he usually can smell. Kraken can usually smell whoever you've got life 2 on, so he usually goes right after that dude.
Pretty much. If it's the only person in your party that can revive, that is the person that gets hit for 1,000 plus damage.
Killed one of my inconsequential black belts.
Hashtag all black belts are sacred. So
Who
we've
won
got.
this?
Oh, sorry. What was that?
Did Salty Fry win? Who won this one?
Yes, it was Salty Fry. Had a pretty incredible Temple of Fiends run, if I do say so myself. He finished Tiamat 2 with 1 black belt with 30 hit points remaining. It was pretty incredible. But yes, he did finish in first place.
The sub 140 times are really great.
Yeah, any seed where you have early crown, like a crown lock TNT and slab somewhere that's quote unquote free. I wouldn't fault anybody for maybe gambling and going to Ice Cave or something instead of Volcano first. But when you have a really easy run out for items, it's really good potential to get a fast seed in a situation like this. Meanwhile, we've got Aliger Brap. I think he's grinding up for some experience for his Black Belt and Red Wizard here. Didn't end up doing the class change. So correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but I believe both Len, Quicklit, and Salty Fry all have a 0 chaos point this round. Am I correct?
A couple days ago.
I definitely do.
I do as well. Yes.
Nice. So what are you guys feeling for the next round's flags? I believe next round is the good alignment with the fighter and white mage party. Have you guys been cooking up any insane strats, running any practice seeds? What do you guys think about the next round's flags?
The early game can be pretty difficult, so I've been practicing that a decent amount.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I've run a couple of the seeds off stream myself, and you kind of get coddled being used to all the black magic being available through black and red mages. So unless you get a really early fade, you're going to be leaning pretty heavily on your fighter. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think we're going to have 2 different strats. Basically, one if you've got early fade, and one if fade isn't available level 1 through 4.
And one of the practice runs I did the other day, fade was level 1, so I just threw out that seed and tried a different one because I figured that wasn't really going to help me a whole lot in practice. I need to practice without fade because that's where it's really going to be most likely.
My only strat is over prepare because I'm going to need it.
That's a way of life for you, Czar. It's the only way you've managed to survive with your luck. But yeah, I would have to agree with you, gentlemen. With a 4x flat boost, but no, or 4x scaling boost, but no flat. It means the very early game, I think, is going to be what separates good runners and good times from bad times, because you're going to have to be efficient in a way to get your party off the ground so you can start gaining experience in a more effective way later. So I'm looking forward to running some of those matches and maybe casting them just so I can see what everybody runs, because I think this round might be one of the more interesting of the 3 forced alignments kind of series of league flags.
Well, the sword selection alone, the sword selection alone will spice things up a bit and probably lead to a lot more strategies than simply black belt grind.
Yeah, I agree. And it also it makes tail is going to be a highly coveted item when you've got a fighter that you need to carry your party, because you can find all kinds of great equipment, but if you don't class upgrade, you won't be able to use it.
Vorpal will be Vorpal.
Will be key.
The meme sword lives on.
Yeah, bonk is going to be important too. I agree.
The nice thing about all those white mages, though, is if you do find like a real cheap Invis 2 or Fade, you're going to be able to take a real advantage of it for boss fights or grinding. But you can't count on it. You'll just have to assume that it's not going to be available.
There's so many options with white magic too when you're in the shop, and you have 3 white mages. You have to think, okay, mute's going to come into play, ruse is going to come into play, even invis will come into play. Fog too.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how much people want to grind. You know, how much you want to get that fighter up so he's getting more damage and more hits. You know, depending on what sword he's using. You know, Fog 2 versus single target Invis, versus Invis 2 Ruse, as you mentioned, a great spell. You know, you can have a dodge tank white mage just at the very beginning, casting Ruse early. You know, hoping that you can draw that Kraken aggro. So yeah, it'll definitely be a real interesting round. I think I'm looking forward to it.
I'm betting we'll see me out.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of that guy lately. Meanwhile, back at the action on the screen, Ali is making his way through Temple of Fiends, taking these worm fights. I'm a little worried for his black belt just because the level's not so high. A couple of these boss fights were a little tough with either absorb or evade tanking being a thing. So hopefully he'll be able to clutch it out.
Hashtag beef jerky.
Yeah, these Earth 4 flights are always annoying because you got those Medusas that have just tons of hits and some unrunnable Earths. We might have more chances to see if Lich has anything on his spell list here, but nope. He one rounds him. Rip that guy. So interesting that he's taking all these fights instead of just running. So he must still be feeling that he needs the experience. And if you want to experience 3 Agramas in the same fight, it's not a terrible place to get it.
Sorry about that. Did anyone find fast?
Negative. That is actually one of the ones that nobody picked up. It was either 7 or 8, I believe. Well, 6, 7, or 8. I didn't actually see it, but Ali Gerbach was the only one who picked up the tail, and it was early in Sky Castle. So everyone else just skipped over it.
Yeah, I never found Fast, Fade, or Invis 2 in terms of spells that I really look for.
They had to be 8 because I checked level 6 and 7 shops.
What did everybody grind their black belts up to before they left whatever their grind spot was?
I did 37, I think it was.
I never really did a grind per se. I just kind of left Volcano around 21 or so and kind of leveled up along the way. Ended up at about 35 by the time it was said and done.
I was very worried about running into fires on the way down to carry.
Why were you worried about fires with a high-level black belt? Just worried that he was gonna get crit, or you're gonna not have enough heal potions, or?
I mean, that's why I leveled him up so high before I left. Like, I thought about leaving at 32, but I knew the fires hit really hard and had a ton of HP, so I figured better safe than sorry.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it during the actual race, but it's always interesting to see where people decide to stop their Agama grind. The whole point of grinding there is to get experience while it's very cheap from a time perspective. and pretty good from a safety perspective. But choosing to stop grinding at 32 or 38 or 40 or exactly at 42, it's always interesting to see how different runners approach it.
You guys know me. My black belt was 42 when I left those Agamas, and I'm glad he was, because I found red giants, and I found gray worms, and I found ambush bulls, and carry was pretty beefy.
Those ambush bulls were something else, man. I think somebody died to them. I think, was it you, Len, that took a death from the bulls in Volcano?
I was wiped by the bulls in Volcano on 3 separate occasions.
Yeah,
Wiped
that
the whole
was
time.
a lot of bull. Oh, so it looks like we're seeing the red mage's spell. It looks like Nuke was available at level 6.
That was Red Wizard then. Yeah, it would have been the top slot in level 6.
Yep. All right, he gets past Kraken with his red mage alive. That might be all that he needed.
So Kraken 2 bats 2 for 5 on Red Mage tonight.
In his defense, Ali Jabrap had all 4 party members alive, so the odds were at their lowest. Although it didn't matter for... I think you had 3 alive, right, Salty Fry? You had just 1 black belt dead for that fight?
Yeah, I only rezzed the one low-level one because I was trying to save life 2 charges, hopefully, so I could res both of them for Tiamat and Chaos. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Do you value an extra party member alive on those fights more than Kraken then? Like, what makes you more worried about those? Just the higher hit point pool on Chaos, or?
It wasn't so much that I was worried so much about those. It was just that I wanted to kind of conserve them and kind of get them to the finish line. Although, I guess if you don't get to the finish line, what good is that? Maybe I should have reconsidered that point.
I guess I was trying to ask that question politely, but yes. I mean, it ended up working out, and he gave us a great show. We'll see if Ali Jabrap manages to get past Tiamat with more than 1 guy alive and 30 hit points. Oh, he gets the turn 1 action temper buff out, and only 2 hits for 55 damage. That is rough.
I always like an extra command for the last few fiends as well. I mean, we had some items. Zeus Gauntlet was there. I think Wizard Staff was there. Bane Sword was there. That could be the one command you get Bane Sword on.
True. I personally would value their utility as a meat shield for an inevitable Kraken 2 melee attack over the slim chance that they get a Bane Sword through, but you never know when that works. It's definitely a viable strategy. All right, looks like some magic took out the first meat shield. Tiamat 2 definitely going to be the hardest of the 2 fights, I think, for Ali, unless Chaos's magic skill list is really short and it's just nothing but Cure 4s.
I think Chaos also had Fire 3, so is at least 2 deep on the spell pool.
Oh, and he gets past them.
It was definitely good to see Cure 4 first in the pool, definitely. If it had been 4th or 5th, I think they could have frustrated the runners.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, even with Salty Fry, I think he had a really nice crit. He had like a 500 some damage crit, and then another 300 or 200, and then the Cure 4 came out.
Yeah, given how much HP he had, he must have been pretty close to dead when he Cure 4'd then as well, because he didn't have much over 1,000, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're right. He definitely rolled under his base 2,000, that's for sure. He was certainly under 1,500.
Yeah, I think I did about 1,300 to him.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Wow, so he gets level 32 right before the Chaos fight, if I'm reading my menus correctly here. All right, so we'll see how the Chaos fight goes for Ali here. Using those life 2 charges, no reason to save him.
While we are watching Ali G go against Chaos, I'll start with Len. Len being the 4th place. Do you have any final thoughts on this seed this flag set? Are you done with this? We've got 2 more races. Are you going to continue to play the last 2, or are you done?
If I'm up and around and bored, I'll definitely run another one. You know, I think these are a lot of fun. You know, you always have a shot, and then you have the question of, well, do I run 3-man? Do I run 2-man? I think there's a lot here. So this is a pretty fun flag set. I like it. So I'll definitely run another 2 races if I'm up and around.
Czar, any thoughts for you?
If available and the space-time continuum is in resonance, I will be racing again, yes.
So I guess for you, that is not always in your favor with the RNG.
I mean, anything could happen at any time, but I would like to participate in more of these league races. I'd like to get my score down a little bit, and I would like to win one of these things eventually.
Yeah, me too. So, Quicklit, any final thoughts?
This was a pretty fun, really fast seed. I think I might have time to do one more, but I'm not entirely sure, so we'll see.
As we're seeing, hopefully, Allie's putting on the finishing touches to Chaos, getting that nuke off. Allie G comes in, crosses the finish line, 5th place, official SRL time of 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 1 second. We're going to get him in here for an interview. Before we do that, Salty Fry, GG, our winner, any final thoughts?
Well, this is the last race for me in this round. I got to work all weekend, so I won't be able to hit any of the other ones. I started with a win, finished with a win, so I'm happy about that.
The win sandwich.
Yep. In between, it was a little iffy, but I'll take it. It was a fun round, and we'll move on to the next and hope for the best there.
Yes. Everyone else move on. Start practicing around 6s with 2 races left. Files, you and I just go after them.
Unfortunately, I'm in the same boat as Salty Fry. I have to work this weekend, so I'll have to be content with my 0.12 for this round.
Well, that is a shame, gentlemen. It really is. Knowing my luck, I'm going to sign up for the next race for Final Fantasy Randomizer League is tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Early AM race for some of us. I definitely will be there, and if no one else shows up, I win by default.
That's a strong strategy. I like it.
Yeah, knowing my luck, that's where like Artea and Minochi and Tristal all show up and go, let's have fun with this.
All right, let's see if we can get Allie in here. GG, Allie. Congratulations on a race finish there.
Honestly, it didn't go well for me. I went Earth instead of Volcano, and after that, I pretty much had to gamble, hoping that I'm going to get to my levels by FFR. So I had to bet to gain some fights. So like I took the Ruggle fight just before Chaos because I needed to get to 32. I did find a tail, which probably helped me a lot. I'm not sure that people found it because it was not a place that people would often check.
Yeah, you were definitely the only one to find it.
Was pretty much I was gambling a bit, like hoping that I could find something until because like I think a nuke to crack to Kraken 2 really helped me because like if not I'd probably die there.
Yeah, I think
Tiamat 2, so like it helped a lot, like finding the tail. But the second act was like really bad.
it's always a. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Pretty much said what I wanted to say.
It's always a tough feeling. Like going to Earth Cave for a quick check is definitely a very reasonable gamble. But when you don't find anything there, like is your thought process like, all right, well I've got to make another crazy gamble to make up for it, or do you feel like going to Volcano, or like what's your thought process when you get to that kind of scenario?
Well, I pretty much go to Volcano because I think it's the safest choice, and like I think a lot of people would go there after that. It's pretty much not leveled as much because like I'm pretty sure like a lot of people went to 42. I went to like 32 barely, so it was my thinking process then because like losing time because you went in the wrong place. You better win time by hoping that bosses aren't as hard as you would hope.
Well, definitely GG to you, Ali, for finishing. All of our runners crossed the finish line, no forfeits. Top time, of course, was Salty Fry at 1:32:51, being the pace setter. So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Again, GG to the runners. Huge thanks to Randomania. Thank you to our tracker, Dude, if that's how you say your name. He's new to us, certainly, but definitely has worked in speed gaming and tracking and otherwise. So we certainly appreciate his help. Thank you to Randomania, to Edgeworth for doing the restream for Randomania. Thanks to my co-commentator Files. As always, that was a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been a wrap. So we are going to get out of here. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you soon. Take care of each other.
See you next mission.